I think the problem is the system. The system doesn't need to be in place in the first place and incentivize any kind of behavior. We need to have free and open market where people would actually have access to any service that they require, and the best services out there are going to win. Vivek Ramaswamy, as he gets into fiery debates with his fellow candidates and media pundits, he's not afraid to tell the truth. So I was obviously very curious to see what he thought of the healthcare system, and I was lucky enough to find a video of him from a recent town hall meeting he held at Guthrie Center, Iowa, heading for the Republican primaries, and we got to see what he thought of the healthcare system. So here it goes. I'll watch the video and I'll react to it.
You know, healthcare is something that you...
Yes.
What is the statement you made? It wasn't healthcare, we need help. Was it me?
Well, what I said was, first of all, just a damning indictment of our current system. We don't have a health care system. We have a sick care system. That's literally what we have. It's not a clever turn of phrase. It's just a description of what we have in the country.
And how come no one's talking about mental health? I wish some of our
We should be. I'm trying to. Yeah, I think I have been. It is a defining issue. So part of the issue is there's two things going on. One is we don't have a healthcare system that covers health. Health insurance plans don't take care of mental health care treatment. They don't promote in any way.
Okay, so what he was saying so far is interesting. We don't have a healthcare system. We have a sick health system, and he was obviously, this is a very catchy thing to say. I get it, but at the same time, he does have a point. We do actually encourage people, and I've spoken about this in my previous videos about the healthcare system in America. We do encourage people to abuse the system, to be sick in many different ways, and the incentives are in place to exploit many holes in the system and to get certain products that are promoted by the interests that prop the system up and are supported by the system. So he's not wrong. And regarding healthcare, well, let's see what he has to say about that.
Why? Because we don't have a competitive private health insurance marketplace. Why is that? Because the system is captured by health insurance companies that have special antitrust exemptions. This is what drives up healthcare costs in this country, the lack of competition. The exemptions from the antitrust laws solely for the insurance industry, the health insurance industry. I would rescind that. We need true competition in the marketplace. And
we certainly need true competition in the marketplace. It probably goes beyond rescinding their antitrust protections. Well, stripping them of the antitrust protections is definitely going to help and bring those behemoths down and take them apart. And that would be a huge, huge service to the American people, where we actually get a free market healthcare. That would be one step in getting our free market healthcare back versus what we have now, which is an oligopoly of interests that have cornered the market and have completely and utterly bureaucratized it and Sovietized it to the point where there's really no free competition for anything. This is all tightly controlled and regulated by a few interests at the top of the pyramid, and these people are regulating and orchestrating everything to their benefit and to the detriment of everybody else. Well, let's continue watching this.
Coordinating effectively their lobbying with Big Pharma, which promotes pill-pushing behaviors by doctors. That gets paid for, but not the actual treatments that could help patients. So my wife is a surgeon at Ohio State, actually. She cares for cancer survivors. That's what she's doing during the week. She's here Fridays through Mondays, often on the campaign trail. But the interesting thing is, she does a procedure that allows patients to swallow food who haven't swallowed for a long time. We have a system that'll pay for all kinds of expensive pill-pushing behavior, all kinds of feeding tubes or anything else.
You see, so the problem is, and I wonder what Vivek would say about that. I've actually invited him to speak on this channel for an interview, and I was wondering what he would say about that. I think the problem is the system. The system doesn't need to be in place in the first place and incentivize any kind of behavior. We need to have free and open market where people would actually have access to any service that they require, and the best services out there are going to win. That's something that is not currently being promoted. What's being promoted are services, a selection, if you will, of services that are being propped up by heavyweight interest groups, and those services are provided to the public at a premium, and those are the only services that are provided, which are basically arbitrarily bundling services to the consumers, whether or not they need those services or not, and excluding other services that are not benefiting the insurance companies and the interest groups that control those insurance companies. Well, let's continue watching.
But doesn't pay for the set of procedures, in many cases at least, that allow those patients to swallow. In many cases, she does it without getting payment. And that works for our family. That's fine. We're okay with that. But that doesn't work system-wide. So here's some basic changes that we need. More competition in the marketplace through a more diverse range of health insurance plans.
Yeah, definitely.
Get rid of those antitrust exemptions.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you drain enough of the money out of the bureaucracy, you have enough people to be able to buy private health insurance for themselves in that competitive marketplace.
Or actually be able to afford healthcare without an insurance policy. And I'll bet you that if we actually open up the market and completely unravel this oligopoly that's controlling and cornering the market, we will likely have much cheaper healthcare in this country. We're going to take out a lot of those different bureaucratic impositions on the individual providers, on individual physicians. We are going to take out a lot of that bureaucracy out of the system. And once you take that out, you are going to make healthcare so much cheaper. People are going to have access to services that right now are just burdened with that overwhelming bureaucracy that's superimposed on top of healthcare, not to mention the fact that a lot of these service providers are actually, the service providers are these giant conglomerates that have cornered the market and they're controlling the prices, not to mention the fact that you have the government involved, which is making everything so much more expensive. So we need to debureaucratize healthcare, and I would love to talk to him about that, see what he thinks about that specifically. Seems like he's on the right track here, and he definitely believes that things should be demonopolized, debureaucratized, and I wonder about his specific view of the mechanics of doing this. Let's continue watching.
The FDA is also a big problem here.
Oh yeah.
Requirements for a new drug getting to market are purposefully high as a product of pharma industry lobbying. Mm-hmm. And that insulates them from competition. That's what's driving the price of prescription drugs. And then on the issue of mental health care in particular, we need to bring back some of those mental health institutions, psychiatric institutions in this country. My mom was a geriatric psychiatrist, actually. She took care, she worked in the VA system, she worked in nursing homes in Ohio. Many of those mental health institutions closed in the last 40 years, again as a product of pharma lobbying. When pharma came out with its atypical antipsychotics, a major drug class they called them, that sold like blockbuster drugs, it was better for them for people not to be in mental health institutions because they have more people then able to take the pills. That was wrong. Now we've seen a rise in violent crime over the same period that we've seen the closure of those mental health institutions. Bring back that.
So he's got a point that the mental health institutions definitely help buffer a lot of people who were mentally ill. They were able to house them, give them some sort of a framework to live in and function in, and that actually kept those people in check and actually helped those people out, just give them some sort of an infrastructure that cared for them and provided them with services. Closing down of the mental institutions over the past few decades, I think, has been detrimental to those people who are suffering from mental illness. That's not obviously the only thing driving rising crime rates, but that is definitely something that could contribute. If you have mentally ill people that are on the streets, that are not being cared for properly, those people can get into drugs, those people can get into all sorts of other crimes to support their addiction, and may get into all kinds of trouble on the street and in the community without having that support network that those institutions provided in the past. Yeah, obviously those people are going to be suffering. Let's continue watching.
A system that will actually pay for it. And then there's something deeper going on. It goes back to that loss of purpose in our country. That's driving our mental health epidemic too. Mm-hmm. We have a system, I alluded to it earlier, that pays people more money to stay at home instead of to go to work.
Absolutely.
In the name of helping them.
Absolutely.
Well, that's not good for our economy. It's not good for the worker shortage in this country, but it's not also even good for the very people you're supposedly helping.
Right on the head. That's correct. Yeah, he's absolutely right. Supporting people, just giving people money not to work, never works out. It never works out for the society at large. It doesn't work well for the individual because it actually incentivizes the individual to be purposeless, to be sitting at home, to be engaging in all sorts of self-destructive behaviors. Drinking, smoking, whatever it is that they do, video games, porn, all that, that is an incentive for the individual not to have a purpose, to give them free money for not for whatever it is that they do. And that is something that I'm strongly against, and it seems like Vivek Ramaswamy is also against that. Let's continue watching.
30 years old, many of them, stuck in their parents' basement playing video games, smoking pot, whatever it is. That drives depression and anxiety too. So you're not even helping the very people you're supposedly helping.
That's right. You don't have a purpose. You don't have a purpose. You become more anxious. You can become more depressed. You can start depend more on those addictive behaviors just to calm your anxiety and to self-medicate your depression or your other mental issues. So that is definitely just a vicious cycle that is being set into motion with people who get paid not to work.
We need to fix in this country as well. So some of this is outside of the healthcare system, and some of this is making sure that we have a healthcare system instead of a sick care system. I do believe I'm the only candidate in this race who's talking about it. My family, myself included. I mean, I've started a healthcare company. My wife is a physician. My mother was a physician. This is deeply personal to me.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, he's very well versed in the ins and outs of the healthcare system by virtue of his mother having been a physician and his wife being a physician. He clearly does his homework. He's a very astute man. He does do a lot. He always seems to be very knowledgeable about the ins and outs of whatever issue he's talking about. He's no fool, and I think he does have a point. So we need to take out all that massive bureaucracy and break down the monopoly of the healthcare industry to make everything more accessible, more affordable to the individual and to the physician, the individual physician, to be able to provide services affordably to their patients. Like he was talking about his wife providing specific services. Yeah, so all in all, it sounds like he's making a lot of very interesting points. In a nutshell, he's saying break down the big healthcare monopolies by removing the antitrust protections, take out all those corrupt incentives that the bureaucracies, their interests, and the government are pouring into the mix here, and make the system into a free market system again as it used to be, and take out all those interests, disempower all those big interest groups that are basically stirring the pot here to their own benefit and to the detriment of the individual patient. I think all in all, it sounds like he's got some very healthy perspectives on the state of healthcare in America, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from him on the subject, and we'll follow up on this case. We'll follow up on his trajectory and see what else he has to say. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, share, like, and subscribe. Put a comment in the comments section and tell me, what do you think about the state of healthcare in America, and what are some of the fixes or some of the corrections that you'd like to see being introduced into the system? Also, don't forget to hit the notification bell for future episodes. More great content coming your way right from this channel. Thanks for watching, and God bless.